Okay, so what is service? So I want to know also a little bit more about what previous service you all have engaged in. So I can start with one thing I do actually on this campus is I volunteered with the Women's Resource Center and their Lunch on Us series. So helping just facilitate some of those sessions or serving food during that. So again, if anyone else wants to share past service experiences, you're welcome to put that in the chat as well. I also love some of the things I'm seeing in the chat about addressing inequities, wanting to make positive impacts, um, providing access to service and resources. Yeah, this is great. All right, so let's go to the next slide here. So it seems like from what you've all put in the chat that a lot of you are very familiar with service, and service in general may have looked like any number of things. It might look like volunteering at a homeless shelter, doing a community cleanup event with your sorority or fraternity, or helping in an after-school program. Service might have also been a requirement. I know my high school, and I think a lot of other people's high school, had perhaps like service hour component required for graduating. Some of you might have been members of the National Honor Society, or maybe your RSO requires a certain number of volunteer hours for its members. So at WeCU, we try to look at service a little differently. We emphasize a slight difference between volunteering and service. And so for our purposes, we look at volunteering as an engagement that primarily benefits the recipients, so the population and or organization that you're serving. And with service, on the other hand, we believe that it benefits both the recipient and you, the student. So throughout the service, you're not only engaging in providing a service that benefits our community, you're also growing and learning. And you are benefiting from this experience because you're growing your skills. So this can happen by reflecting on and engaging in thinking about the root causes of our needs of our community. So that involves asking, like, why is there a need for my service? Is there a reason that our service is needed? And often it's injustice that's driving that need. So service with WeCU also involves community-defined priorities. Our community partners who know what's happening in the community, they assess need, and then they bring in students such as yourselves to come in and help them address those needs. So all of this gets back to the topic of reflection, which is a critical part of service with WeCU. Part of doing service with WeCU is that you're making meaning. And by making meaning, I'm asking you to think about who is the population or organization you are serving. What is the service you are doing? Why is that service needed? And this all brings us back to the question of why you want to get involved with service and what does this bring you to? And also, how is your project going to feel meaningful for your own growth? So thinking about what strengths you bring that might be useful and how you'd like to grow to further serve your community and enrich your own life, and how this project can be a part of that growth. So I want to give you a very brief overview about our Champaign-Urbana community. So many of you may have just moved here to this community at the start of classes. Some of you may have been here for a couple of years now. I think this is my third year in Champaign-Urbana, and others of you may have grown up around here. And often when we're on campus, we can feel separated from the broader community that we're a part of. And Champaign-Urbana is a really vibrant community. It's not limited to our campus. So even though a lot of us call campus home, there's a lot of residents who live in Champaign County year-round. And I'll let you read through these statistics on your own. But what really we're trying to emphasize is that Champaign-Urbana is a really diverse place. And, one of the numbers that jumps out to me on this slide is that over 25,000 residents in our community are immigrants. So that's like 12% of our population. And that's really important things to keep in mind when we're engaging with the community around us. So let's go to the next slide. Perfect. So in general, all communities, no matter how vibrant, face challenges. And so in our community, there are nearly 150 people who are living without homes or regular housing, and 33% of immigrants live well below the poverty line. Black people are disproportionately represented among our country's incarcerated population. And we don't want to ever define a community by its deficits, right? So our community might be facing some unique challenges. It's also been a really dynamic group of members who are working to address those challenges. And we see students have donated nearly 22,000 hours of service since 2020. Our students and their partners are working to bring visibility to community challenges and triumphs. Last year, we had a student work with the Education Justice Project, advocating for incarcerated and formerly incarcerated people. And other of our students have worked with Uniting Pride to help plan Pride rallies and ally trainings. We've had several students work with Dream as after-school tutors. So as you can see, there's really like a lot of ways that the community is involved in creating a vibrant space that addresses a lot of the issues that come up. Okay, so now I'm going to talk to you about what you can expect during your first weeks at WeSeeU. But first, I'd love to know whether you have registered for a project on GivePulse. So if you want to put in the chat, yes, no, I'm about to, that's all fine. I'd love to kind of just get a general sense of where we're at. Okay, so a good variety. Okay. Okay. Yes, if you're having any trouble registering for a project, I will be sure to put our email in the chat and just send us a quick email so we can kind of help figure out what's going on and address that with you all. Okay, so I will put that in the chat in a few slides. Okay. So a brief timeline for WeSeeU. This slide outlines the general timing of what we expect with WeSeeU in the next 2 weeks. So you're going to register if you haven't already for an event on GivePulse. Some of you have done that and others are about to. And after you register for a project, I highly recommend that you do some background research and familiarize yourself with the organization you've chosen. So go on their website and do a little background research to find out what they do. You can read their mission statement. You could read some newspaper articles. Basically, try and learn about the organization and what it does. Then soon you will receive an email connecting you to your community partner after the registration window closes on September 18th. So please keep an eye on your inbox for that email. Once you've received that email, you should respond. So make sure to introduce yourself and take the initiative to ask to schedule that first meeting. Once we've connected you via email, it's up to you and to contact your community partner. So we're here to make that connection and here to support you, but we don't know how the specifics of the project will get done or what the timeline is. That's really the role of your community partner. So really be proactive when responding to the initial match email. Okay. In many cases, the relationship between the university and the surrounding community has had some tense moments, and researchers have come in, done research, and left without really carefully planning about continuing and protecting relationships with local communities. So we really emphasize that it's important to take this role very seriously and bring integrity and honesty to your partner communications. If you ever feel like you are struggling to represent the university in an ethical way, please reach out for help. So I really want to take a moment to emphasize WeCU's core values, and this should guide your interactions with your community partner. I've spoken about these, or one of my peers at least, you've heard one of us speak about these core values in the information session: impact, experience, and community. And we've gone over this image as well in many information sessions, but the important emphasis I want to make here today is WeCU is really the hub that connects Illinois students to community organizations. Once we make that match, you're really working independently with that community organization. And we are here to provide resources, supports, and trainings, but you are going to act as an ambassador of the university. So when you do your work at your service project, you are representing the University of Illinois. And I'm actually going to turn it over to my colleague Antara, who's going to talk a little bit more about how you can engage meaningfully with your community partner.
Hey everyone. Yeah, so I'm going to continue this presentation by giving you information about how to communicate with your community partner, stay in touch with them, and do your project like nicely. So communication is a key part of how you can begin to cultivate a mutually beneficial partnership with your community organization. So that's very important. So to remind you all, you should receive an email connecting you to the community partner this week or next. Sometimes the community partner will respond right away and introduce themselves to you. Other times you might need to start the conversation. If the community partner does not respond within 2 business days, respond and introduce yourself first. And lastly, you should try to communicate with your community partner at least once every 2 weeks. So, to continue that mutually beneficial relationship. If you have trouble reaching out to your community partner or can't seem to get the conversation started, reach out to our team, that is the team WeCU, and we can help you get started with the conversation. Okay, so before that first meeting with your community partner, after you have communicated with them once, you should prepare for your first in person, or maybe there can be different modes of communication. So for that first meeting, you need to prepare yourself. So I mentioned this earlier, but you should do some background research so you can show up to the first meeting prepared. This might involve reading their mission statement or browsing their Facebook page. You might also want to revisit the project description if it's been a while since you signed up for the project. Then next, you want to get some goals for the project. Some of the goals will be set by the community partner. For example, if the partner needs help building a new website, one of your goals is going to be creating a new website, but you should set other small goals too. What are your goals for the project completion? Who are you serving? And what resources do you need to meet this timeline? Now, for example, if you are working on a project which involves building a website, you will need to have some knowledge about the technologies associated with it, like HTML, CSS, maybe some more small technologies. So you might not have knowledge on everything, and you will need to prepare those things. So those can be your short-term goals, and the long-term goal will be creating the website. So that the first meeting with your community partner will set the tone of your entire relationship. So make that meeting count. Have your questions ready so you can start to plan out your semester project. Some key questions might include: how often do you want to meet or communicate? Who is the point person for the project? Common platform for all communication. It can be email, it can be via Zoom, phone call, and maybe in some cases in person. Then you'll need to develop deadlines for the deliverables. Suppose I'll just continue the previous example for a better understanding. So if you are creating a website, it's not necessary that you do that in just 1 week or 2 weeks, but every week you have to show that you are doing some work. So you have to set some deadlines for the small deliverables, so that they know that you will be completing that project on time. Yeah. So how will the community partner provide feedback on the progress of the report? So these are some of the questions you can ask your community partner and get some clarity on it. We ask that you be responsive. Answer your emails promptly within 2 business days, and take the time to write and proofread your emails. Remember, you are representing Illinois and you want to make a good impression. So, as I'll just repeat the statement again, you guys are representing the university and you want to make a really good impression, as these community partners are from the projects, from different projects across the Champaign County, and these are separate community organizations. So the impression that you make of the university really matters to us, and it should matter to you as well. Yeah. So be present and accountable with your community partner. You should be on time to any meetings that your partner sets, and you should give them your full attention by taking notes, asking questions, and acknowledging them. You really need to be proactive throughout your service hours. You should also be present at any trainings that VCU provides and identify which trainings you might need to meet your specific service goals. So for example, if your partner has tasked you with redesigning their website, see again, we are using the same example for better understanding, you might need to learn a new software or some basic HTML coding skills, as I already mentioned. So yeah. Now, ethics are also very important when you work on a project. So the first important thing in that is confidentiality. Confidentiality brings us back to the idea that VCU scholars pursue ethical service projects. You should respect the confidentiality of the organizations you are working with. So do not share stories with friends or post photos on social media without the written permission of your community partner. This is very important. Be resourceful and learn new skills if you need to. If you need to learn a new skill, use the resources that are already available to you. LinkedIn Learning is available for free to all the UIUC students through the web store. So take advantage of this resource. And again, as mentioned in the info session, VCU offers mini grants to help you pay for any other trainings you might need. So please use that. You know that there is an advantage we are providing you. So it will be great if you use that. You should be inquisitive and ask questions. You are not going to know everything about the community organization or the population you are serving. So asking questions show that you are dedicated and that you care. Ask questions of your partner and of us, the VCU team. We are always happy to answer your questions, but come to us sooner rather than later. Don't wait until November to tell us that your community partner hasn't reached out to you, because then it will be your loss. So you need to communicate with us, you need to ask questions and be as proactive as you can. And finally, hold yourself to a professional standard. Even if you are serving remotely, practice Zoom etiquettes, be timely, and respond to emails that your partners send you. You also want to practice cultural humility. So cultural humility is a large part of service. This cultural iceberg is a good visual representation of this topic. There are things that, about us that are visible, things that are less visible, and things that are invisible. Much like an iceberg, what's visible is what's floating on the surface of the water. But we know that there is a lot under the surface that we just can't see. So we might be able to see a person's age or their clothing, but we might not be able to see other things like their wealth, history, or personal values, ethics. So we always need to be considerate and humble about we know and what we don't know. Let me speak a little bit about what cultural humility is. Cultural humility is a personal, lifelong commitment to self-evaluation and self-critique. This means that you are not only learning about another person's culture, but you are also turning a critical eye back on your own beliefs, biases, and cultural identity. Cultural humility is also requires that you recognize and try to topple power dynamics and power imbalances. And you are actively working to develop partnerships with people and groups to overcome those imbalances. Finally, cultural humility requires institutional accountability. This means that you are holding whatever institution or group you are working with to those some standards. So this slide puts some of those points into simpler terms. Be open to learning, open to exploring, then the other thing is self-reflection. Work towards a better understanding of yourself and your positionality. That is how your identity shapes your position in the world. Cultural humility also involves a commitment to lifelong learning. We will never know everything, and we are committed to constantly learning. Empathy and compassion for yourself is also very important when you are serving others, for your community partner and your fellow VCU scholars. And finally, being other oriented, which basically means you are taking others' needs, viewpoints, and values seriously. Another part of cultural humility is to avoid causing harm. In order to avoid causing harm, you should listen to and apply the knowledge and expertise of community members. So you are collaborating with and listening to your partners. You are not going into an organization and telling them how they should approach a problem. You should never impose your own ideas and expectations onto your community partners. Secondly, you should check how much authority and power you are given. You may be going into a community that you are not a part of. So be mindful of how your positionality changes the dynamics of a room. Finally, use language that conveys respect when you talk with and about community members and community partners. Always err on the side of caution and use someone's title when introducing yourself for the first time, or use person. And there are reflection questions that you can ask yourself before starting a service project to help check yourself. Like, what biases do you have, and how might these influence your viewpoints? What biases do you need to explore and check? You may have learned these from your parents, your high schools, the media, or other sources, but we all have them, and we should check all of them. Many of you might need to ask how white supremacy affects your assumptions about a community, organization, or person. These are the important but difficult questions you must ask yourself before starting your service projects. If you have questions about any of these topics or reflection in general, the VCU team has resources that can help you educate yourself so you can remain culturally humble. So this slide has some sources which you can use to educate yourself. I'll give you like 10 seconds to go through the slide, and then I'll move on to the final reminders. If you want, you can take a picture of this and keep. All right. So, some final reminders before I open it up for questions. You are an ambassador of the University of Illinois and the VCU program. So reach out to us for support. And finally, be sure to track your hours on GivePulse throughout the semester. If you have any questions about how to do this, please let us know. And even in the class visits and info sessions, we have mentioned this, that 7th November will be, I think, the last date you can log your hours on GivePulse. That's a very important deadline because that counts towards your credits. And if you don't submit it on time, you will be in trouble. So yeah, please track your hours on GivePulse. And we are done with the presentation and open to questions. You can use the chat, you can unmute yourself, whatever feels comfortable to you. Please ask questions. As I already mentioned that you have to communicate. So let's begin that now.
Antara, do you remember when is the deadline to submit hours again?
Yeah, that's 7th November. So for all the service projects, 7th November is the deadline to log your hours on GivePulse.
I think that's for LAS 122.
Correct? Oh, I'm sorry, Spanish people are also there in this. Okay, I'm not sure about the Spanish class. I'll maybe confirm this. And
I think it really varies based on what you're doing this through. So if you're doing this through a course, make sure you check your course deadlines. If you're not doing it as part of a class, it is just through the end of the semester, I think through December 9th, perhaps. And if you don't reach 20 hours, nothing happens, right? You just need to, if you're part of a class, make sure that you meet the hours required in the class. And the 20-hour threshold is what we use to track like our specifically WeCU community engaged scholars. So that's where you get an extra level of recognition, but there's no consequence against you if you don't meet that. I know a lot of people have busy semesters, and we want to encourage you participating in service at any capacity that you can. Any other questions?
So I have a question. Where do I log in the hours? I can't find where you have mentioned this now. So on GivePulse, I think there is an option of adding impact, and that's where you add your hours. So once you register for a project, that's the place you can add your hours to. Yeah. We have a question. Okay, no, not that one.
Okay, so if you do have other questions that come up, maybe they're not coming to mind now, or you just want to ask them at a later point, please email us. We check our emails very regularly, and that is a great way that we can help you if you have a specific issue that's coming up. If you're part of a course, please make sure to review those requirements and expectations. If you're not part of a course, of course, just make sure you're fulfilling the commitment that you've made to your community partner, right? But yeah, Antara and I will hang around and can help if folks are having further problems. So we'll kind of end the session now, and you can stay on if you have questions.
There's just one question, I think. How do we register for our projects? Okay, so I think you might have received some emails, and if not, then you can go to the site called GivePulse, and there you will have, like, you have to go to the section you are in, like the course. Yeah, you can take this one, Priyanka.
Well, one question I would ask is, are you, for the person who's asking, is this through a course or is this on your own? Just to check. On your own. Okay. So then if you go on GivePulse, if you are having trouble creating an account on GivePulse, I can send you that email, but you'll go on GivePulse and WeCU and look in open pool events. And I can actually, if you want to direct message me or email, I can send you the link tomorrow and kind of go through the events there and click to register.
Yeah, and there is also an option of registering for self-identified projects. So if there is any project you are already working on separately, or something you want to start a project or something, you can register for that. Like, you can add that there and we'll be approving it. That's right, Priyanka.
Yeah,
about the self-identified ones. Yeah.
Yeah, one other question. So there will be an email that links both the community partner and the student, right? Just kind of putting you in contact. And we suggest that you respond to that email to your community partner so that you can make that introduction. So, you know, sometimes community partners are able to reach out first, but we really encourage students to make that first connection. But the Community Learning Lab will send out that initial email to help connect you. So you'll have that contact information. I hope that answers your question. Yeah, what would be good to include in the introduction? So maybe let me just go back to, let me see if there's something on the slide. I would always respond to that email.
I think with my like personal introduction and what course I am in, what I am passionate about, and why I have chosen that project in particular, I think that should be a good like starting. Like you just have to connect what you are doing to the project you have selected, you have chosen, or something like that. This is what I would do, but that's completely personal and depends on person to person, that how you want to begin a conversation with the community partner. So yeah.
Yeah, and you can maybe start asking, like, say that you're excited, and you know, a brief introduction about yourself, and then ask like, when can you set up an initial time to meet? And kind of, you might want to ask if Zoom or in person is better, and then that way you can start that scheduling.
All right, I don't think we have any more questions. If there are any questions, you guys can, okay, there's something.
I think that for the 20 hours for this distinction, you have more time than November 7th. That's just for the LAS 122 course. So if you are doing service on your own, or even are part of that course, but doing extra projects, you have through the end of the semester, I believe. I think December 9th, I'll double check. Yeah, December 9th,
Yeah.
but so you have more time than that. Great.
What two requirements are you exactly talking about? That you have to complete 20 hours and that should be within this semester. Is what my understanding is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the reflection, yes. Yep.
By this, do you mean that will your hours be tracked somewhere or something, or these instructions will be noted somewhere? Is what you're talking about? I'm confused.
Oh, the distinction,
okay.
have that recognition.
So I believe that you can get it on your resume, and that will be a distinction. So that will help you bolster it, is what I believe. And are you like asking that will you be getting any certificate or something once you complete 20 hours? Because I'm not sure about it, and I will get back to you on that. I think you can leave your email and I'll get back to you on this question. Yeah. Okay, noted.
Great. Any remaining questions? Okay, so just a reminder, you can always email us if anything else comes up. That's at we-cu@illinois.edu. I'll put it in the chat one more time, and then we're going to end the session. So if anything else comes up, feel free to email us, and it was great to talk with you all today.